back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, I am here today to review a book that I gave 5 stars and I absolutely love and would 100% fully recommend to all of you. And that is this book, Sufficiently Advanced Magic, which is by Andrew Rowe. And this book is so good, and such a book that I think so many of you would absolutely love. If you want to know a bit more about this book, listen up to my review, but if you want to buy this book, I will put a link to where you can buy it down below if you are interested. Let's get started. This is the story of Corin Cadence, who is a young noble in a family of nobles who are known for their fighting prowess. He lives in a world where there are, I believe, 6 or 7 different spires in this world. Each of them is magical and huge and goes right up into the sky. You can kind of see like the bottom of a spire here. And they have rooms in the spires. These spires each have rooms with puzzles, rooms with monsters, rooms with terrible elemental things going on, rooms with a whole lot of magic. And the idea of this world is that if you are rich enough to enter the towers, then you can go through the judgment. And the judgment is where you go through and fight your way through the different puzzles and monsters, and you end up with an attunement, which is a magical power in this world. So, our main character, Corin, goes into one of the towers and he goes through his judgment, and that is where we pick up the story, just as he is about to start his judgment and hopefully go through and earn an attunement, which he does quite early on, so I don't feel like it's spoiling it. I won't say what it was that he gets, but he gets an attunement, and he then goes off to magic school. Not too dissimilar from Hogwarts, but definitely its own thing entirely. And I love magic school stories, I think they're great, but this one definitely didn't feel like it talked down to you at all. It felt like it was very much an adult story. What I love about this book so much is that it is kind of classed as a lit RPG book, which means it feels like you're playing a game whilst you're reading the book. It feels like you're role-playing and you're in this character's head. You are him, you are going through these tests with him, you are just right in the action, in the thick of things, and it's so fun to imagine it. The creativity of this world, the intense amounts of magic keeps this incredibly fresh and incredibly fun throughout, and I absolutely just loved it. I felt like it was fully my kind of fantasy. What I mean by that is that there is magic infused in every part of this world. People in this world who have attunements build up their attunements by building up their mana, and the mana that they have in different parts of their body can then be used with their attunement to do magical things. So we have some people who are summoners and they can summon magical creatures, they can bind them and they can control them and use their powers. We have people who are inventors, they can invent magical items, they can feed the magic into these items. We have people who can teleport, we have people who can use incredible powers to have weapons that are just insane. There are so many different classes of people because of their attunements, and it really feels like a D&D game. I've never played D&D, but kind of what I imagine a D&D game would be. I've like watched people playing it before, so I kind of know. And it really feels like, as you're reading this, there are so many things that would be in a game. So our character goes through these quests and these puzzles, and every time he kind of gets through a few levels, shall we say, he then gets rewarded with something. So he'll get like a loot bag, or he'll get like something really exciting. I think if you're a fan of Ready Player One, or if you're a fan of any kind of gaming, you're gonna love this. And I also think if you're a fan of really loads of magic, you're gonna love this. Some of the creatures that this author comes up with are fantastic, and really I could vividly see them in my head when he was describing them. We have some scenes where Corin gets into pit fighting and gets into situations where he is battling monsters either with his friends or on his own, and I just could see the battles, and I love when that happens because I am not into battles. You probably know this about me, but when it's one-on-one with like you and a giant killer evil monster that is magical, I'm pretty down for that sort of battle. I'm just not into like human v human. They're a bit boring. So yeah, definitely enjoyed the battles in this, and there are quite a few like skirmishes and puzzles, like I say. We have many different tests that the characters have to go through, and we see Corin as he kind of grows his abilities and finds out more about his own attunement and more about his friends' attunements. He does have some friends that he kind of meets up with in this book. One of his really great childhood friends called Sarah, who comes along to the academy with him. She's kind of the main person that he knows when he first goes there, and they kind of form a little group together quite early on and discuss things. He meets some other characters who are new to him, and he meets some other childhood friends who kind of come back into his life. Turns out that Corin's brother was actually older than him and went into one of the towers a few years ahead of him and never came out. So it is very deadly, this game of going into the towers, and it's quite possible that you may die in there. But in this world, people do these challenges because they need and they want the magic. The magic is what keeps this world going, really. People profit from it, people sell magical things, and it's all about magic. The other really interesting thing is that people from different parts of the world will have different attunements that will be like completely unique to their part of the world and the tower that they went up. We also know that there is a goddess who is in charge of this whole world and has created these towers, and it is said by many that if you continually go up all the towers, then you will meet her at the top. So some people are called climbers, and they will battle their way through the entire tower to go and meet this goddess in the hopes that she will grant them some sort of boon when they get to the top. So essentially, the judgment that our main character starts off with is like level 1 of a game, and then as time goes on and as he's at this academy and he's learning more about his magic, he will then eventually have to go back in and do level 2 and level 3 and so on until he reaches the top of the tower. Now, people in this world can get multiple attunements if they go up multiple towers and do multiple challenges and puzzles and figure things out, and we also know that the goddess may provide some boon if they do everything. It is definitely worthwhile training up and doing your best to get really powerful in whatever your attunement is so that you can go back in and gain more. Corin's main agenda is to hopefully one day go up to the very top of the towers or speak to the goddess or something like that and find his brother. He doesn't know where he is. He assumes he's dead, but he's really holding out hope that he's not. Everyone else kind of assumes he is because he's been gone years. But Corin is determined to at least find out what has happened to his brother, and that is his main motivation for continuing to practice every day and try and figure out how to best use his newfound attunement. One of the things that kind of crops up is that he gets involved in his judgment in things way over his head. He could never have imagined he was going to get wound into these sorts of things when doing the judgment. But he does, and he ends up kind of in an almost monster and god war, which he just doesn't really know how to manage, and it's quite good that he surrounds himself with friends later in the book because they are there to help him. One of the other things that I really liked about this is it has that similar feeling to the Harry Potter books where the teachers really do get involved in the action sometimes, and there were a couple of teachers that I really enjoyed seeing them get into the story. Many of them were female teachers and I thought they were just great, and they really reminded me at times of like Professor McGonagall, and I love her, so I was definitely down for that sort of thing. I think some of the teachers were really good characters, very strong side characters, and I loved that. Sarah was definitely my favourite of the female characters, but only by the end of the book. I think she had to like grow a little bit on me as time went on, whereas Marissa was a character who I liked straight away, and she's very feisty and has a lot of power to her. We also have Patrick and we have Jin, who are the other two sort of main characters who are in their group of friends, and these two each have their own abilities that they bring to the table. Jin is a particularly mysterious character who doesn't really reveal much about his origins or his past, and we don't even know what his attunement is for most of the book until very close to the end, where he reveals things and stuff happens. I also have to say that there is a very minor plotline of a gay relationship which is hinted at. It's not acted upon in this book, but I'm assuming maybe in later books it may be. It's just kind of there. We'll see what happens with later books. But the other thing that I thought was incredibly well done was the mental health angle of this book. Our main character is a bit of an anxious character. He has certain things he really doesn't enjoy. For example, touching is something he finds very difficult and is not something he enjoys or looks forward to in any way. And so human interaction is something he finds hard, and being with his friends and opening up to them and trusting them is something that he finds quite difficult. And this largely stems from the fact that he was essentially homeschooled for 3 years. When his brother died or went missing, he was taken out of school by his father, and he had trained every single day to go and find his brother one day. And so he's missed out on a lot of the human interaction and growing and developing as a teen with his friends. And I think the mental health elements were done really, really well in this book. It's certainly not something I expected to see, and it's something I was pleasantly surprised to see in this story, was the moments where we have introspective dialogue of our main character kind of saying that he's worried or saying that he's anxious about certain situations. And I really liked that the author included that, because it made our main character Corin completely convincing to me as a person. Like, he feels like he is a real person, and I really, really respected and liked that choice on the author's part as well. I thought that was fantastic. I don't know if me talking a mile a dozen is going to really sell this book to you or not, but I really hope it does, because oh my goodness, I absolutely loved this book. I just thought it was excellent. I think the only downside I had to this, and it's very, very minor, is that there were a few moments where I felt like we'd already been told something and then we'd be told it again 100 pages later, just to sort of jog our memory. And for me, because I'm quite good at remembering things, I didn't really feel like it was necessary to re-jog our memories on certain things. But with that said, the adventure is fantastic, the story is great, the characters are excellent, there are so many good female and male characters, the cast is pretty evenly balanced, and the magic is so cool. The whole world is just so cool, and there are lots of moments in the book where we have our main characters learning how to use their magic, and so we as readers are learning how the magic works, which worked really, really well. So generally, this book was just great, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I just think it is great. It's so great, and I really want more of you to read this, so do check out where you can buy this below. I will link it. I will also link the author's blog if you want to go check him out too. And I believe the second one comes out in March time this year, hopefully, springtime at least, so I'm definitely going to be picking up a copy when it comes out. I cannot wait, especially seeing as the ending is a huge cliffhanger, guys, and I'm so desperate. It's such a twist and such an interesting thing, and I really want to know what's going to happen next. So for the purposes of SPFBO, which this is a part of, it's part of the Self-Published Fantasy Blog Off, and it's finalist, this I would give a 9.5 out of 10, and that's the same rating I gave the one I submitted, which is Devil's Night Dawning. So they're on level playing field for me. I love them both so much, and I think these are completely worth buying and checking out. So do go and check both of them out. But yeah, this one is... it's my first 5-star book of the year, and it's one that I loved so much. So please do go and check this one out. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.